Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Roberto Corona. I am an anthroposopher and astrologer, and in this video we'll talk about the major astrological events of 2024, a year that will mainly be characterized by the air and fire elements. Now in this picture that you can see here, there's a glyph which sums up the main planetary movements across the year. So let's take a look at each one of them in a more or less chronological order. Now let's start with Pluto, which will enter Aquarius for good in 2024, and we talked about it in a dedicated video that I'll leave you down in the description box. But basically, Pluto's ingress into Aquarius consists of three phases. Now last year, in March 2023, Pluto entered Aquarius for about 3 months, that was phase 1, to return back to Capricorn in June 2023. And its second ingress, which will take place very soon on January 21, 2024, will last roughly 7 months. In fact, Pluto will return back to Capricorn for a short period of time from September 2nd to November 19th, date from which it will remain definitely in Aquarius for 20 years. Now, as you can see, Pluto introduces us here to the air element, which is one of the 2 elements of the year. Now moving on, concerning the lunar nodes, they will stay in the Aries-Libra axis, which means that mainly eclipses will occur in these zodiac signs of, again, air and fire. However, we will already have a little preview on an eclipse in Pisces, as you can see here from this list. Now, basically, we're going to have on March 25 a penumbral lunar eclipse in Libra, and then a total solar eclipse in April in the zodiac sign of Aries, and this is going to be eclipse season 1. Season 2 will start on September 18th with a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces, here we go, and an annular lunar eclipse happening on October 2nd in the zodiac sign of Libra. Now, in particular, the most important eclipse of the year is going to be this one, the total solar eclipse in Aries of April 8th, because in addition of being a total solar eclipse, this eclipse will involve the presence of a periodic comet called the Pons-Brooks Comet, and on top of that, 2 major astrological events, Mercury Retrograde in Aries as well, and the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. In short, April is going to be a super intense month. As for Mercury retrograde, 2024 will mainly affect fire signs. So can you see the pattern happening? Air and fire again. And in this sense, Mercury will draw in the sky an elemental triangle of fire, albeit imperfect. Why imperfect? As you can see here, we have a list of Mercury's stations with the date, and one of them is going to happen in the earth element, and that's why this is an imperfect triangle of fire. So Mercury is going to station in Aries from April 1st to April 25, then is going to turn retrograde in August, in Leo from August 5 to August 28, and then in Sagittarius from November 26 to December 15. So this was Mercury retrograde. Moving on to Jupiter, this planet changes sign basically once a year, and in late May, Jupiter will enter Gemini, leaving behind Taurus, but not without drama. Now here you can see the main aspects that Jupiter is going to make during the year with the slow-moving planets. Of course, we will talk about these transits in a dedicated video, but we can comment that, first of all, 2024 will start with a long sextile between Jupiter and Saturn. Here it is. And we have already talked about it in the Jupiter in Taurus video, so you can find the link down below. Basically, Jupiter, which rules Pisces, will expand the spiritual themes of Saturn, which is now transiting precisely there in Pisces. So we will also talk about the most dramatic conjunction of Jupiter this year, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction happening in April. Here it is. Now let's say straight away that this is going to be a quite destabilizing conjunction, which will happen, as we mentioned, in a month that will begin with a major eclipse, and that will figure also Mercury retrograde as well. So we will talk about the ingress of Jupiter in Gemini, of course, happening on May 26. And this will begin with Jupiter, as you can see, closing Pluto and Neptune in a minor grand trine. What's a minor grand trine? Basically, it's a configuration formed by two sextiles and a trine. So you can see it here because we are going to have in late May this sextile between Jupiter and Neptune, immediately followed by a trine between Jupiter and Pluto. Now, the first tensions of the Jupiter-Saturn cycle will then take place in the second half of the year, specifically during August and December. You can see them here. That 2 months that are going to feature a square between these two planets, Jupiter and Saturn. Now, in 2025, the last square, the third and last square, will occur together with Saturn, with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So let's remember that 2025 is a very, very delicate and powerful year. And you can refer to my video on Saturn in Pisces for a preview, a description of this conjunction. It is very interesting because it is the same configuration that led to the fall of the Berlin Wall. So you can check that out. As for Mars, this year, Mars will transit through the zodiac signs from Sagittarius to Leo, and precisely in Leo at the end of 2024, Mars will turn retrograde. Here you can see the two stations of Mars happening on December 7, 2024, the first stationing in a fire sign, Leo, and on February 24, 2025, the second stationing happening in Cancer. Now, we can say that this will cause a long stay of Mars in Cancer for more than 3 months. And as you can see, this is going to happen from January 6, 2025 to April 18, 2025, when we are going to have Mars in Cancer for a very long time. In a zodiac sign that is not ideal for Mars at all, being Mars in Cancer in its fall. But we're going to talk about that in late 2024. Now, as for Saturn, Saturn will remain in Pisces, of course, but in June, it will be roughly about 10 degrees away from Neptune, and this will be a little sneak peek for the Saturn-Neptune conjunction happening on July 2025. And again, for a preview of this conjunction, you can see my video of Saturn in Pisces. Finally, on the comet front, we will have two comets that should be visible in 2024. Obviously, we have to be careful with comets because we can never tell whether they are going to dissolve or be visible at all, but we can say that at least the first one should be visible because it is a periodic comet, which means that it returns to be visible quite regularly. And according to spiritual science, periodic comets are nasty. They bring about these nasty astral forces back towards the Earth. And this is the so-called Pons-Brooks comet, which should be visible during the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8. Again, a very intense month. Whereas the second comet should appear in October during eclipse season 2, and it is the Tsuchinshan Atlas comet, and its appearance should be able to influence the US elections. So definitely a very interesting scenario. Now, as you can see, 2024 is going to be a very intense year that will prepare us for the big changes happening on 2025. So I invite you to subscribe to the channel, not to miss out the in-depth videos on all the topics that we have mentioned here. Of course, as always, thanks for watching. I wish you a happy 2024, and I'll see you next time in the next video.